A 3-year-old boy is screaming in the middle of a Tokyo subway station. Tourists stare. The train doors are about to close. And yet, his mother doesn't yell. She doesn't threaten him. She doesn't shove an iPad into his face or whisper, "Stop embarrassing me right now." She simply kneels beside him and waits. Calm, unshaken, almost as if she understands something the rest of the world doesn't. Now here's the disturbing part. Statistically, that child is more likely to grow into an emotionally regulated, self-disciplined adult than millions of children raised through punishment, timeouts, and reward systems. And modern psychology is starting to uncover why. Because the biggest parenting myth of the last 50 years may be this: the louder we try to control children's behavior, the weaker their ability to control themselves becomes. But in Japan, parents have been using a completely different system for centuries. A system so subtle most outsiders never even notice it. And hidden inside that system is one uncomfortable truth that could completely change the way you see tantrums, discipline, and even your own childhood forever. The secret is not that Japanese parents are stricter. It is almost the opposite. The real secret is that they do not begin with the child's behavior. They begin with the child's identity. In many Western homes, discipline starts the moment a child does something wrong. Toy is thrown. Parent reacts. A rule is broken. A consequence appears. The child learns one thing very quickly: adults become powerful when I lose control. But in Japan, the deeper philosophy is different. The goal is not to win the moment. The goal is to shape the kind of person the child believes they are becoming. This is where the word shitsuke becomes important. People often translate it as discipline, but that translation is dangerously incomplete. Shitsuke is closer to training the body until goodness becomes natural. Not forced. Not performed. Embodied. A child is not simply told, "Be polite." They are slowly guided to feel, "I am someone who considers others." A child is not simply ordered, "Clean up." They are slowly shown, "I am someone who contributes to the group." And this changes everything because identity is stronger than instruction. A child who thinks, "I must obey or I will be punished," behaves only while power is watching. But a child who thinks, "This is who I am," carries the behavior even when no one is watching. And here is the missing piece most parenting advice ignores. Calm children are not created in the moment of conflict. They are created in the thousands of quiet moments before the conflict ever happens. The bedtime routine. The way shoes are placed at the door. The gentle pause before entering a room. The repeated thank you before a meal. The small act of helping without applause. These tiny rituals look ordinary, almost invisible, but they are secretly building a nervous system that understands rhythm, predictability, and belonging. And a child who feels rhythm does not need chaos to feel alive. A child who feels belonging does not need rebellion to feel seen. But then a shocking question appears. If Japanese parenting is so gentle underneath the surface, why do the children often look so disciplined from the outside? The answer is because what outsiders mistake for obedience is often something much deeper: social awareness. From early childhood, many Japanese children are guided to notice the space they occupy, the people around them, the emotional temperature of the room. They are not raised around the question, "What do I want right now?" They are slowly introduced to a harder question: how does what I do affect everyone else? And that single shift may be the reason a child on a crowded train can learn something far more powerful than silence. They learn self-control as a form of connection. But this is where the story becomes uncomfortable for modern parents, because the biggest difference between Japanese parenting and Western parenting is not discipline. It is the relationship with discomfort. In many households today, discomfort is treated like an emergency. The second a child becomes bored, frustrated, impatient, lonely, or upset, adults rush in to remove the feeling as quickly as possible. A screen appears. A snack appears. A negotiation begins. Anything to stop the emotional explosion. But neuroscience shows something dangerous happens when children never stay inside difficult emotions long enough to process them. Their nervous system never learns that discomfort is survivable. And a child who cannot survive discomfort will eventually try to control the world around them instead of controlling themselves. Think about that carefully. Tantrums are often not signs of bad kids. They are signs of overloaded nervous systems that have never practiced recovery. Japanese parenting quietly trains this recovery process through something called mimamoru, which means watching without immediately interfering. First, this sounds almost passive, but psychologically, it is incredibly sophisticated. Imagine a child struggling to put on their shoes. In many homes, the parent steps in after 5 seconds because it is faster, cleaner, more efficient. But in doing so, the child loses something invisible: the experience of overcoming frustration. Japanese parents often wait longer than feels comfortable, not because they enjoy watching struggle, but because they understand a hidden truth about confidence. Real confidence is not praise. Real confidence is evidence. It is the memory stored inside the body that says, "Something was hard, and I survived it." And suddenly, another contradiction appears. The calmer the parent becomes during chaos, the faster the child's nervous system stabilizes. Why? Because children borrow emotional regulation from adults before they develop their own. A screaming parent trying to teach emotional control is like throwing gasoline onto a fire and demanding the flames disappear. In fact, researchers studying co-regulation discovered that a child's brain mirrors the emotional state of the caregiver with terrifying precision. The parent is not just reacting to the child's emotions. The parent is actively shaping the child's future ability to handle stress itself. This may explain why many Japanese parents appear unusually calm during public meltdowns. They are not ignoring the behavior. They are regulating the environment first. Because beneath every tantrum is usually a nervous system searching for safety, not a child plotting manipulation. But here is where things become even more surprising. Japanese parenting does not remove structure, doubles down on it. The difference is where the structure comes from. In many Western homes, structure is external. If you do this, you get rewarded. If you do that, you get punished. The child behaves because control is imposed from the outside. But Japanese parenting leans heavily on ritual, rhythm, and social expectation. The same bedtime hour, the same greetings, the same routines repeated over and over until behavior stops feeling like a command and starts feeling automatic. And this matters because the human brain craves predictability, especially a child's brain. Predictable environments reduce cognitive stress. They reduce emotional volatility. They create internal stability. In other words, many children are not misbehaving because they are defiant. They are dysregulated because their environment is emotionally chaotic. And maybe the most haunting part of all is this. Modern parenting culture often celebrates constant stimulation while accidentally destroying the very conditions that create calm children. Endless entertainment, endless choices, endless emotional negotiation. But the Japanese approach understands something ancient that modern society forgot. Peaceful children are not built through intensity. They are built through repetition, through slowness, through emotional safety repeated so many times that eventually the child no longer needs the adult to carry the calm for them. They begin carrying it themselves. And now we arrive at the part nobody wants to admit. The real reason so many parents feel exhausted is not because children have become more difficult. It is because modern adults were never taught emotional regulation themselves. That is the twist hidden underneath this entire conversation. Parenting is not just raising a child. Parenting forces adults to confront the parts of themselves that were never fully healed. Think about what usually happens during a tantrum. A child screams. But often, the parent's reaction is not truly about the child. It is about embarrassment, loss of control, fear of judgment, the feeling of being disrespected. Suddenly, the adult nervous system enters survival mode too. And without realizing it, the parent stops responding to the child's needs and starts reacting to their own unresolved emotions. This is why two different parents can witness the exact same behavior and respond in completely opposite ways. One stays grounded, the other explodes. The child did not create the emotional storm. The storm was already there. The child simply revealed it. And Japanese parenting philosophy quietly understands this at a very deep level. That is why so much emphasis is placed on the emotional state of the adult rather than aggressive control of the child. Because children absorb who we are far more than they obey what we say. A parent can lecture endlessly about patience, but if the home itself feels emotionally unstable, the child's nervous system will learn instability instead. And here is the truly mind-altering part. Many calm Japanese children are not calm because they were taught to suppress emotions. They are calm because they rarely need to fight for emotional safety in the first place. Their environment gives them something modern childhood increasingly lacks: emotional predictability. They know what to expect. They know where they belong. They know love does not disappear the moment they become inconvenient. And once a child stops wasting energy trying to secure safety, an extraordinary amount of emotional capacity becomes available for empathy, patience, and self-control. In other words, the goal of parenting may not be to control behavior at all. The deeper goal may be to create an internal world where good behavior can emerge naturally. That changes everything. Because it means the question is no longer, how do I make my child listen? The real question becomes, what kind of emotional atmosphere is my child learning to breathe in every single day? And the answer to that question may shape their entire future more than any punishment ever could. So maybe that mother on the Tokyo train was never trying to control her child in the first place. Maybe she understood something far more powerful. Children eventually become the emotional environment they grow up inside. Not immediately, not perfectly, but slowly, day after day, interaction after interaction, until the atmosphere of the home becomes the voice inside the child's head for the rest of their life. And that raises a terrifying question about modern parenting. If emotional regulation is not taught through punishment, then why are anxiety, emotional outbursts, and behavioral struggles rising in children all over the world at the exact moment parents have become more controlling, more overstimulating, and more emotionally exhausted than ever before? Because the truth about raising calm children may have nothing to do with discipline at all. And once you understand what modern society is secretly doing to children's nervous systems from the moment they wake up, you start seeing childhood very differently. That's where the next story begins.